Farm Basics is brought to you by the Liberty Link trait and Liberty herbicide from Bayer. The most reliable weed management solution, Liberty Link and Liberty herbicide are the link to efficient row crop production and sustainable weed management.
During our Farm Basics time today, we're going to discuss why you'll see strips left out in fields. Why is 99% of the field harvested, Darren? And then there's a strip of corn out there. What's going on?
Well, there have been some fields this year that were chopped as early as July for silage, and there are strips left out in those fields. And you say, well, wait a minute, I don't understand that. Why are there like 4 rows of corn sitting out in the middle of this cornfield? Why didn't they just take it all? Well, one of the reasons that some of the corn was left, especially early in the season, was for insurance adjustments. For crop insurance, if you've got a total loss out in your field or a loss that's very significant, what crop insurance adjusters will do is say, all right, you can go ahead and chop that field for silage, leave me a couple of strips, and I'll look at those strips and adjust that out for you. Yeah,
but specifically what they're talking about is you need to leave 4 rows every 20 acres. That's what we were told ourselves on our farm, 4 rows every 20 acres. So if you've got an 80-acre field, you might see 4 strips out in that field. That's the reason why.
And for insurance adjustment, they can look at the ears of corn there, estimate what the yields were. And in some cases this year with the extreme drought, the yields were 0 to 5 bushels per acre. But still, they have to go out and check those just to verify that everything's on the up and up.
All right, let's talk about other reasons why you might see that. One of the things is some people love wildlife. And
like you do right here, Brian, on the edge of this field?
Well, anyway, I don't really love wildlife quite that much that I want them eating all my corn, but a lot of people want to make sure that they've got some deer around the place for hunting later this fall. And so they leave a few strips out there to let the deer feed on. And you know, it really doesn't amount to that many total dollars. Even if you left an entire acre of corn out there, I mean, how many dollars are you talking? $1,000, $1,200 at maximum yield. And this year, a lot of guys were half yield. So you might have $500. So is it worth $500 to you to have some extra deer out there? A lot of people would say yes.
Well, it also may leave a little bit of cover for other animals, smaller animals, maybe pheasants or other things that you may have out on your farm. So that may be a nice thing to do too. The other thing you'll see is sometimes people will leave strips right along roads. And what they're trying to do is catch snow. Now, this could be kind of for 2 different purposes. One may be they live on that road. They want to catch the snow in the field so it doesn't drift over the road and make it impossible to pass through. The other side of it, especially as you move further west in our country, is farmers are trying to catch the snow because they need that moisture. And if they can get the snow to drift up and get deep out in their field, well, that's that much more moisture that can soak in the spring. And in some cases, we've seen some big time yield impacts around tree belts or around these strips of crop farmers leave to catch those snow drifts because those particular areas, the soils get fully charged with water. And years like this year where we have a big drought, it can really pay off.
Okay, so what's the downside to doing this? Other than the money, about the only thing I can really think of is if you're leaving this just like as a windbreak, for example, and you don't have a bunch of deer in your area, some of that corn is going to fall down by spring. And that's going to mean volunteer corn next year, and you might have some strips of volunteer corn out in your soybeans or whatever crop you choose to raise. So you might have some additional cost for weed control the next year. You know, other than that, I can't really think of any
No, you
big
may just
downside.
have to do a little bit of tillage just in that one strip in your field. It's no big deal, and maybe the rest of your field is minimum till, but you know what, you got to do full-scale tillage just through 4 rows or 6 rows or however wide you left that strip for the windbreak or the deer feeding or whatever the case may be. It's no big deal. It's no huge loss for farmers. It's no huge expense for them, but it's something that in many cases could be good either for wildlife, good for the roads and your safety during the winter, or just good for the crop for next year if you can save more snow out in the field.
Well, one thing that's never good for your crop is having our Weed of the Week. We'll tell you how to identify and control it coming up later in the show.